tonight from Howell and the North Bureau, Dearborn in the West Bureau, from the Detroit Bureau, Bloomfield Hills in the North Bureau, and Windsor. With Wes Sargentson, the news.
Good evening. All the bickering and confusion in Congress is over. The Senate voted today to approve the Second Panama Canal Treaty.
News 4 Detroit with John Blunt and Jennifer Moore, Don Shane with sports, and Larry Shannon with the weather.
Good evening. Detroit police don't know why it happened. This morning's shooting at a West Side motorcycle club that left 3 people dead and 6 others wounded. But police are holding 3 people in custody, though no one has been formally charged.
News 4 at 6 with Margie Reedy, Jack Legoff and business editor Jennifer Moore, Al Ackerman with sports, Brian Tegland in Weather Watch, and the News 4 team. News 4 tonight with Mort Grimm and Carmen Harlan, Eli Zerrett with sports, Mal Sillers in Weather Watch, and the News 4 team.
Good evening, and it's a very good evening for Detroit Tiger fans. The losing streak is over. The magic number is lower. The Tigers won tonight, beating Baltimore 1-0.
News 4 Nightbeat with Mort Grimm and Carmen Harlan, Bernie Smilovitz with sports, Brian Tegland in Weather Watch, and the News 4 night team.
They say the killing has to stop. Kids should be able to walk safely on the streets and go to school and play. One group tonight is doing something. They're determined to save our kids. Good evening. The entire nation tonight is reading about Detroit.
Come on with the best, only on Channel 4.
News 4 at 5 with Mort Grimm and Carmen Harlan, Bernie Smilovitz and Chuck Gatica.
Good evening. It laid waste to Jamaica. It buffeted the Caribbean. And now Hurricane Gilbert has come ashore to blast its winds, pour down its rains, and bring misery before it dies sometime this weekend.
With Rich Make and Margie Reedy, Bernie Smilovitz and Chuck Gatica. News 4 Nightbeat with Mort Grimm and Carmen Harlan, Bernie Smilovitz and Chuck Gatica.
This was not a normal day in the San Francisco Bay Area. The aftershocks continued from Tuesday's killer earthquake. Tonight,
News 4 Nightbeat with Dan Mountney, Nona Barbie, Scott Wally, and Paul Long.
Come on with the best, only on Channel 4.
Tonight, Michigan Democratic campaign coffers are swelling with new donations from a big annual fundraiser. Tonight, bus travelers across the country remain stranded as the Greyhound strike continues. Tonight, the Red Wings play with determination, slapping in goal after goal to solidify their playoff position.
News 4 Nightbeat with Dan Mountney, Jennifer Moore, Paul Long, and Fred McLeod.
Good evening.
Just have 2 more hours to go, and it still hasn't really hit hard.
Tonight, Detroit's police force shrinks. Hundreds of cops make their final roll call.
Tonight, a look at who's trashing Detroit.
Tonight, Eastern the Gulf and around the world.
News 4 Nightbeat with Dan Mountney, Christy Kruger, Fred McLeod, and Paul Long.
Good evening. They took an oath to protect and defend the citizens of Detroit, but the city of Detroit can no longer pay them. So tomorrow, 300 cops will turn in their badges and join the ranks of the unemployed.
Now, from Michigan's best news team, this is Newsbeat.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rich Make with Margie Reedy, Mort and Carmen.
I, David Koresh, agree upon the broadcasting of this tape to come out peacefully.
tonight, have police been double-crossed by a cult leader?
Tonight, keep an extra tight grip on your bags when you pass through this airport.
Tonight, unmasking a monster, Leslie Allen Williams tells why he killed.
She had saw where I lived. I had no choice.
Nightbeat with Mort Grimm and Carmen Harlan, Bernie Smilovitz and Chuck Gaedigan.
Good evening. Once again, there are indications the religious cult standoff in Texas could be ending. This evening, there's been a flurry of activity near the barricaded compound, but federal agents have been tricked before.
You're watching the Newsbeat at 6 with Emily King and Ruth Spencer, Van Earl Wright Sports, and Chuck Gaedigan's Big Picture Forecast.
This is the Nightbeat with Mort Grimm, Carmen Harlan, Van Earl Wright Sports, and Chuck Gaedigan's Big Picture Forecast.
Good evening. Our big story tonight is a breaking story.
This is the Nightbeat with Dan Mountney, Asha Blake, Steve Garagiola Sports, and Paul Long's Big Picture Forecast.
The big story is a dramatic rescue at a concrete company's mixing site. A worker got trapped in a hopper of crushed limestone, and hours of rescue work pays off when he's dug out and carried to safety. Making news now this Friday. Police investigating the murder of a fast food manager are following up new information from a series of recent crimes. And believe it or not, this ball can help women give birth to healthy, bouncing babies. You'll see how it works.
It's all right now on the Newsbeat at 5, where local news comes first.
This Friday, the 13th, was very unlucky for a worker at Washtenaw County Cement Company. He fell and got trapped in a hopper filled with crushed limestone. Now, the careful rescue work took hours, but it ended with good news. That worker is recovering tonight. Good evening.
You're watching Channel 4 WDIV, and this is the Nightbeat Now, where local news comes first. Live from Detroit's news leader, you're watching WDIV Channel 4, where local news comes first.
You're looking at live pictures of your big story tonight, a stubborn fire still burning out of control near Metro Beach. Good evening. Firefighters have been battling the blaze for the past 6 hours.
You're watching the Nightbeat with Carmen Harlan, Devin Skillian, Chuck Gaedigan with Big Picture Weather, Bernie Smilovitz with Sports, and Good Health with Lila Lazarus. This is Channel 4, where local news comes first.
This is Local 4. Local First News at noon begins now.
A raging fire destroys several Grosse Pointe Park businesses. The question this noon is, why did the businesses burn? Good afternoon. I'm Ruth Spencer.
And I'm Rhonda Walker. Thanks for joining us. Lila is off this noon.
Live from Detroit's news leader, it's 5 o'clock, and this is Local 4, where local news comes first. With Carmen Harlan, Devin Skillian, Chuck Gaedigan, Bernie Smilovitz, and Detroit's #1 news team. Live from Detroit's news leader, it's 6 o'clock, and this is Local 4, where local news comes first. With Carmen Harlan, Devin Skillian, Chuck Gaedigan, Bernie Smilovitz, and Detroit's #1 news team. Local 4 News is everywhere. Now, Local 4 News at 6. Live from Detroit's news leader, it's 11 o'clock, and this is Local 4.
Local 4 News is everywhere at 11. The entire Metro Detroit region still under a winter storm warning. Right now, live pictures from Wayne County. And the snow continues to fall in Oakland County. We have everything you need to know to get out the door on time in the morning. Good evening, everyone. I'm Karen Drew.
Good evening. I'm Steve Garagiola. It got a little dark here, and I apologize. We're dealing with weather conditions outside, and this little bit of mist just blew out one of our lights.
Live from Detroit's news leader, it's 11 o'clock, and this is Local 4, where local news comes first. With Carmen Harlan, Devin Skillian, Chuck Gaedigan, Bernie Smilovitz, and Detroit's #1 news team. Local 4 News is everywhere. Now, Local 4 News at 11.
From the Power of 4. Local 4 News at 5:30 starts right now.
And right now, a mother is being investigated after her children are found all alone crying in a Canton park. It's a story you saw only on 4. Police say the children were 3 and 5 years of age, and they were found alone at Griffin Park about 2 o'clock this morning.
From the Power of 4, Local 4 News at 11 starts right now.
The future of Ford. The glass house empty at this hour, but tonight we know what's in store for thousands.
From the Power of 4 and clickondetroit.com, Local 4 News first at 4 starts right now.
And good afternoon, I'm Ruth Spencer. It looks like we've got a beautiful weekend coming up, so let's get you going with the latest weather and traffic.
You're watching Local 4, the home of clickondetroit.com. Local 4 News Morning starts right now.
A Boy Scout camp torn apart by a tornado this morning. Families are reunited after these deadly tornadoes touched down. Right now, 40 people are recovering from injuries and 4 people died. Reaction from those inside the camp when the storm struck just ahead.
And the lives of Michigan's children taking a change for the better. While you slept, the new kids count report is released. And while care is improving in some areas, there is work needed elsewhere.
Good morning to you on this Thursday. Thank you so much for starting off your morning with us. I'm Rhonda Walker. Time now, 6 o'clock.
I'm Rod Maloney sitting in for Guy Gordon. Thanks for joining us on Local 4 News Morning.
You're watching Local 4, the home of clickondetroit.com. Local 4 News, first at 4, starts right now. You're watching Local 4, home of clickondetroit.com. WDIV Local 4 News at 5 starts now. You're watching Local 4, the home of clickondetroit.com. Local 4 News at 5:30 starts right now.
A hallway hero. This young woman is alive tonight thanks to one of her classmates who came to her rescue at school.
It was a dramatic scene at Roseville High School. A student was choking until one of her classmates stepped in.
You're watching Local 4, the home of clickondetroit.com. Local 4 News at 6 starts right now.
He was just starting the 2nd grade when his dad left for Iraq. Today, this 3rd grader can finally stop counting down the days till his favorite soldiers return. Good evening. The wait is over for one local family after a very long year.
You're watching Local 4, home of clickondetroit.com. WDIV Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
A major movie studio deal is done tonight, and that means lights, camera, and jobs, a whole bunch of them. Thanks for joining us tonight. The studio is coming to Allen Park, but the most exciting part is thousands of skilled workers will be hired.
And we're told people right here in Metro Detroit who were laid off will get the first crack at those jobs.
You're watching Local 4, home of clickondetroit.com. WDIV Local 4 News at 11 starts now. You're watching Local 4, home of clickondetroit.com. WDIV Local 4 News today at 6 starts now.
Fighting for his freedom, a local doctor facing fraud charges is hoping to be released from jail, but he won't be the only one heading to court today.
Caught on camera, a burglar captured on home surveillance video lurking through this house. We have the video that police want you to see.
Hey, hey, Hockey Town, the Red Wings are back. They're kicking off a new season, and it begins tonight right there at Joe Louis Arena. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday. Thank you so much for waking up with us. I'm Rhonda Walker.
And I'm Evrod Kasmi.
You're watching Local 4, home of clickondetroit.com. WDIV Local 4 News at 6 starts now. You're watching Local 4, home of clickondetroit.com. WDIV Local 4 News at 11 starts now.
Families feud, Local 4 in the middle of a wild scene when relatives of a murder victim clash with a suspect's family. But first tonight, breaking news about Joe Paterno, the former Penn State coach, reportedly taking a turn for the worse. Good to have you with us here tonight. Earlier reports that the legendary coach passed away are not right.
Live from the home of Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
A day of delays and disappointment. Michigan lawmakers still working on language to come up with a plan to improve our roads. Will we get a deal? We're live in Lansing.
MPG mistake. Ford Motor Company admitting several of its vehicles do not live up to the mileage promise, and now 200,000 customers could get a check from Ford coming in the mail.
Mother murdered. A warrant filed and a car found in the case of a Detroit mother who was killed, but her 2 young children still have yet to be found. Good evening, and thanks for joining us for Local 4 News at 6. There are several new elements to get to in this developing story.
Yeah. Live from the home of Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Deadly shooting and attempted robbery of an armored truck leads to gunfire, and now the search for another suspect on the run.
Cost of cleanup. Warren Mayor Jim Fouts says the damage from the floods is far worse than first thought.
Come on, get back.
Bounty hunt gone bad. Cameras roll as the situation gets out of control, and that tops our news at 6 o'clock. Good evening. The situation going from bad to worse in just a matter of seconds.